Okay, I'm now going to just do a quick exploration of Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And people also do like a little into puppy dog because I feel like when you go from Tadasana mountain pose and then you shift to puppy dog, you can see so clearly, where is Tadasana? Where is this template posture? And I also want to just touch base on stabilizing the shoulder joint. So as, Tadasana, we're on our feet. As downward facing dog, the weight now, the foundation is on the hands. There's a little care needed for the shoulder joint. So I'm going to change my camera and go onto the mat. If you're doing it with me, then, maybe you want to do puppy dog with a chair or a wall. Okay. So Tadasana mountain pose here, which is anatomical position as well, standard position. And now, if we look for where is the natural curves of the spine here, right? If I turn to my chair and begin to fold, and for many friends, the back of the legs, the hamstrings that connects into the sit bones, the ischial tuberosities, it can be tight, right? Or maybe they're not warm. So I always recommend bending the knees, right, to get the hinge in the spine. So we want the pelvis to hinge and the spine to stay in the natural curve. So I'm not rounding to get down, right? And I'm just staying front body equal to the back body, the pelvis moving. Now, I'm going to wrap my arms, my hands on the sides of the chair, wrap my arms down. And as I wrap my arms down, that is external rotation in the outer upper arm. And just as a side note, external rotation in the outer upper arm is the most stable position when we bring the arm in flexion at the shoulder joint, right? When the arm's in flexion at the shoulder joint, we want a rapid external rotation. So it kind of wraps in. This ball and socket joint is actually kind of shallow. And so we want to kind of nestle the head of the arm bone into the shoulder and wrap so we stabilize. And then we're going to eventually put weight on the hands, right? So you could try it with me, bringing them arms down. If you did internal rotation and lift up, there's this actually little ledge of a chromium process, and you kind of actually hit there. You're going to get a little impingement. It's very hard to come up. It actually feels very yucky for my body, but you could try it, right? Always good to know. And then external rotation. So I wrap the outer upper arm in and up. Okay, so trying it here. Right. This is a wonderful moment too. I'm actually going to grab my blocks for a second. That you can do this in Tadasana. I didn't do it the last video, but you could, is to take a block in between the thighs to hug in and get that real feeling of stability. And then a block in between the hands. And so now the stability, as I waddle to you, the stability in the legs, great for your core. Again, you can do it in Tadasana and all the poses where your legs are symmetrical. But this is the part right here where I take my palms at the side of the block, and it just naturally, because I have to roll in at the outer upper arm, it brings the arms into external rotation and then stabilizes the shoulder joint, right? So for external rotation, arm bone at the shoulder joint, and then you can bring it up, Utthita Hasta here, or upward worship, and hug and lift. So this is a wonderful kind of template position that we're going to take now in to puppy dog and down dog. You're welcome to keep that leg block. I'm going to waddle my way back here because I really like that stability that hugging in and lifting up gives, but you don't have to. Okay. So again, I'm going to bend my knees so my pelvis isn't restricted by any hamstring, back of the leg tension, and then take the sides of the mat, walk back. And this is, a little simpler version of downward facing dog. There's more weight on my feet, but I can stretch through the spine. And that's what we want. We want Tadasana spine. We want to get that nice juicy stretch with the arm bones in flexion and external rotation at the shoulder joint. And then you can begin to slowly wake up the back of the legs, maybe eventually straighten the legs. Now, if you straighten the legs and you feel tension in the low back, right? Or you feel the spine round, right? Then bend your knees and pull the hips back. Deep breaths here. All right, so in the same way, we're gonna work now into downward facing dog. I'm gonna take this block out for now. I'm gonna move my chair away. And I'm gonna start by showing the arms and the hands in extended child's pose. So it's child's pose, but I've just extended my arms forward, all right? So if I say shoulder and I come down from the shoulder head, shoulder distance apart, wrist creases straight ahead. For many of friends, it might be a little too tight in the neck, right? So I found just over time, it's a little more accessible to go to the outer edge of the shoulder and turning the wrist creases slightly out. Now I'm saying wrist creases versus fingers because if I teach from my fingers, it hasn't changed my rotation of my arm bone at all. Okay, so I want to rotate at the outer upper arms to get the shoulder stable and the neck spacious. And then I turn from the wrist creases and then the fingers can just go, right? Because friends can do all kinds of things with the fingers and it won't affect the arm bone, okay? So wrap at the outer upper arm, turning the wrist creases and then maybe the fingers go with it, that's great. To pull the chest through, all right? So if I teach it here, and let's just take a moment because I know sometimes it gets confusing, like outer upper arms. What are you talking about? So this is the outer upper arm, right? And so I'm gonna hug it in, I'm gonna rotate it in. Maybe it might be easier to go underneath and rotate it in. So try it yourself, rotate it in. And what that's gonna do is gonna kind of all the way up, it's gonna stabilize the shoulder joint. It's also gonna activate into the bigger muscles in the back. So now it's not just these little 4 rotator cuff muscles stabilizing my shoulder. I'm rotating and getting my upper back muscles to engage, and then it's going to pull me up and back. So let's try it one more time. So a little, just slightly wider than, outer shoulder, turning as you wrap the outer upper arms. It's like you start to engage the upper back. Now, one of my dear friends talks about opening a pickle jar. And that to me really connects. So what if you were going to open a pickle jar, you external rotation and you feel your upper back. You got to get in there, right? You got to open it. So pickle jar with both hands, get into the outer upper arms and into the upper back. From here, gently draw the upper back in, bend your knees as you pull up and back to create that Tadasana spine. Lengthen through the neck. So those key points, right, of ears, shoulders, hips, pulling back, firm the belly. Now, if you just go to force the legs straight, for some of our bodies, right, the hamstrings could be tight. And what will happen is we start to round the upper back, round the low back, weight goes more into the hands, right? So you want to bend the knees and pull the spine long. That's our first priority. Keep firming into the palms as you wrap your outer upper arms, making space for your neck. And then maybe straighten one leg and then the other, keeping the priority of the spine, right? Keeping the priority of the spine so we have beautiful space for the breath. Remember, the breath is our guide. And also the safety of the spinal column is our guide, right? If I said to you, do you want to choose to keep your spine or your legs? You'd be like, no, I want both. I don't want to choose my spine or my legs, right? And which one is essential for life? Well, it's like, oh, my spinal column. I can't live without my spinal column. Okay, yes, I don't want to live without my legs, but I could. So the first priority is that Tadasana spine. Bend your knees. And then once you have that length, that prana moving, it's coming up from the earth, it's moving through you, then you take it down the legs, all right? Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, stabilizing the shoulder joint, drawing up into the back, firming the belly, starting with bent knees is a great way to ensure the spinal column. And then once you get that, then lengthen the legs here. So Adho Mukha Svanasana, it's like, I love that book, Where is Waldo? You find that guy everywhere. Where is Tadasana? And in down dog, it's actually in the spine and the legs. eventually, right? But we started in the spine, and then we move it to the legs. And, if we went forward and we went to plank pose, then, oh, it's absolutely in plank. Okay, I'll do it real quick. I just got to, right? Right. Shoulders over the wrists, but ears, shoulders, hips, and heels, there are some bumps in there, but plank. Okay. So we just keep working and working that Tadasana, which is going to move your prana and help you be this like safe and stable as possible and energized. There's probably a lot more to say about it, but I hope that's helpful. I love this stuff. All right, friends. Let me know if you want to geek out about it anymore. Bye.